Aloha, Initiate, and welcome to a spiritual support video for you on the topic of God consciousness. I just want to remind you of the magnitude of your yes to facilitating breath of bliss and entering this mystery school and becoming an ambassador of high frequency consciousness, making a deliberate decision to awaken through your own somatic direct realization and to start treating your entire life as a living laboratory so that your own experience of transmutation and liberation can be a source of inspirations for others who might be suffering and longing for freedom, joy, bliss, love, compassion, understanding, and all the things. So, breath of bliss is a very unique modality in the universe of modalities called breath work, knowing, of course, that this is sacred divine play and remembrance, not work, and not so focused on the breath as the center of our attention, but rather the use of the breath itself as a practice among other practices to ignite God consciousness. This kind of God consciousness is not representative of a figure depicted in any one religion from any one region or time that has been experienced on planet Earth. This form of God consciousness is a simple way to articulate having a direct experience of reality, of oneness, of the infinite, of the sacred mystery, of the loving, intelligent cosmos of which you are a part, of which you are not separate, of which you are an ambassador and an expression of. This concept of God consciousness could easily be replaced while you're facilitating others with phrases like source or unity or Christ consciousness or spirit. You get to choose, but there is a potency in taking a deliberate stand as a spiritual practitioner to say and to choose to deliberately architect ceremonies to help people have a revelation of their wholeness. This God consciousness is about awakening to the truth that you are not your stories. You are not the surface mind. You are not defined by the labels you've been given or given yourself. You are not defined by anything that has ever happened in your past or that anything that will happen in your future, because you are an infinite being of light beyond space and time. You are a current of life force coming from the implicit wholeness that permeates all things. So you're not separate from anything, and you're here to help people remember they are not separate and that anything they are using to reinforce a lie of separation, the painful lie of not being enough or a part of the collective or the community or having love, you're here to help dispel and dissolve those lies so people can go into the ecstatic rapture of beyond the mind, beyond the preconceived notions, beyond the temporary conditions of external reality that are constantly changing. Because when we tether our bliss to constantly fluctuating external circumstances, when we tether our bliss to the actions and choices of other people, we're setting ourselves up for suffering. There's a higher order. We are being invited into an upper room. You are, as a breath of bliss initiate, as a spiritual practitioner in training. And so this God phrase, which you could see as an acronym for goodness overflowing divinity, or whatever makes it more friendly if you have any past negative associations with that efficient word, or you want to use a different word with your people, it is simply speaking to the beingness. It is speaking to the divine I am almighty presence that is within your heart, and your heart as a portal to heaven on earth. That means your love, right? And so your nature is infinite, eternal, creative, unfolding forever through and as the body vehicle. And we use the ceremony in Breath of Bliss as a catalyst to have that revelation. Your life is an expression of wholeness. And we get to remember that again and again together in our learning community when we forget, because the temporary amnesia is a real thing. I have it myself quite often. But then we get to experience that bliss of remembering, of waking up from the hypnotic spell of the past and the future that are thieves. The past and the future are thieves, robbing you of the bliss that lives in the present moment. And so your consciousness as an infinite being of light, as an ambassador of God consciousness, it is not a reactive consciousness. You are not jockeying or manipulating or pushing or trying to control any external circumstances as much as you are creating the conditions that you most want to welcome in your life as a conduit for source, as a living, breathing availability that is making welcome something so much bigger than you to move through and as you. That's who you are. And that is the magnitude of, if you are having these kinds of direct experiences, I'm hoping that you are willing to share this with your ceremonial attendees. And so this kind of consciousness cannot be grasped by the surface mind. It is beyond the vocabulary that exists in any language known or forgotten on this planet Earth. This is part of why we play with light language, because it allows you to go beyond the mind into a realm of divine play where you're using vibration and sound to express nuances of feeling and knowing directly that are just beyond the human's current capacity of the mind. Keeping in heart, you're only using less than 1% of your entire brain capacity. And so here in this ceremonial activation, we're inviting the brain to come online in a higher order in service to the heart, and to rewire it so you can surrender into something so much bigger, an intelligence that is working for you, not something or a constellation of events or experiences that's happening to you. We are waking up in this joyous inquiry into God consciousness, into discovering how we can step out of victim consciousness and into divine authorship of our ecstatic union, our bliss with all that life is. The whole spectrum, the joy and the pain, as we often call a single word, the joy pain. Yeah. And so this is about a beingness. It's not about doing anything. We're inviting people and we're exploring ourselves how to actually rest into a sacred order of beingness that's the presence. You've heard me use this phrase a lot, the presence that is never an absence. This is a core mantra for me. I am the presence that is never an absence. This mantra means there is an ineffable quality to you. There's the truth of who you are that is beyond thinking. It is beyond doing. It is beyond everything you might ever try to become in this lifetime, because you've always have been it and you always will be it. And it is the highest order of who you are. It is simply presence. And so when you can go and play and breathe and see your whole life through the lens of God consciousness, miracles happen. You actually can step beyond duality, beyond the compulsive need to categorize all of your experiences into right and wrong and good and bad, and other people into categories of right and wrong and good and bad. And when you go beyond that addiction, that species-wide addiction we have, you actually create space in your heart to see the wholeness in everyone and everything. And there is a bliss that naturally arises within your body. And there are biochemical releases of healing substances in your brain that I believe happen when you can rest and just relax out of that compulsive reactionary need to control, manipulate, and understand what is already a total mystery by trying to label and categorize. So when you touch into this place, which I'm sure you probably have, even if you haven't called it God consciousness, You likely have experienced this collapse of collapse of the lenses you've been using to see all of reality. You move into a holographic space. It is a very psychedelic potential that is available in these ceremonies where you can see all of what has so-called been called reality. You can penetrate the multidimensional nature of what is. You can go beyond the words themselves you've used to define and yourself and all of life. And then suddenly you realize that everything outside of that you believe is outside of you is also you. It collapses into this field of oneness, and ultimately, if you're enjoying the experience, into the love. And the love is the heart of what we call this God consciousness. The feeling is effortless and graceful. We're not pushing to get to this place. We're not valorizing it as the only place we can experience in our ceremonies. We are making ourselves available. We are making ourselves welcome. We are discovering how to relax the expectations and the storylines so that we can be an open, available space for spontaneous realization. And when these moments happen, you remember that you're not a body. That is not the definition of who you are. You actually have this cellular awakening. You have the possibility of realizing spontaneously that you're a soul, an eternal soul, popping into this temporal realm in this particular constellation of the body and the personality and the family and the life circumstances. But this world of appearances that might be hypnotizing your mind to create all these untrue storylines that create pain. None of this is true. Like, this is not the essence of who you are. You're actually this soul here having this revelatory awakening, and hopefully a rapturous, blissful awakening as you are in this earth school and gaining greater and greater discernment over the fabrication of stories you're creating for yourself, and greater curation of your thoughts, and resting ever more fully into this presence, which is, for me, it's total bliss to be resting in the presence. And so in this perspective, the word God, right? I'm just going to use the word God, is not some distant man in the sky with a beard. That is a story from a religion with economic and political interests that have been woven into an architectural, we'll call it entity, that has been popularized in many cultures. This is not the word God we are using, is simply referring to the field of consciousness from which all sound, all breath, all aliveness, all truth arises. And this, when we say presence, when you can rest, when you can breathe, and you can ecstatically expand into the God consciousness, this is the 0 point. And as a high frequency channel, this is the blisscipline, is how can I allow myself to so evolve my perception of what is real that I can rest into the 0 point loving awareness of source in and through my own heart. And from this place, how can I realize there's never been anything broken I need to fix, and there's nothing missing, and there's nothing wrong, and there's no problems, because there's only solutions and infinite possibilities in the heart and mind of source. And so when you kind of pop out of the matrix into this field of sacred communion, everything becomes a radiant adventure of ascension. Everything becomes an opportunity to transmute density, distortion, and currents like lack and fear and scarcity, and to have a revelation, and to become the living vibration that rearranges reality all around you. That feels really good. I just want to tell you, in the moments I've actually been able to use my breath to loop my awareness with a group, to turn the sensorium on high on the dial, so all the senses are high, to relax thoughts, to sense and feel. There is an availability that occurs where you become the revelation, you become that prayer of presence and the space that allows everything to spontaneously self-realize in the mind, hearts, and souls of those present. So that's where we're aspiring to, because why not hold the bar high as Breath of Bliss facilitators? Why not be the only ones in this industry who have taken such a radically spiritualized stance, such a radically oriented towards personal awakening stance, using this life path as a portal to our own mystical unfolding. So a few more things I'd love to offer you around this feeling, this frequency, this experience of God consciousness. Everything is frequency. You know this. And that's why we call our facilitators high frequency channels. So when you are actually able to touch into and maintain God consciousness for sustained periods of time, everything becomes coherent. And you become a tuning fork of coherence. You start reorganizing the architecture of the energetic membranes that are within and around you. And you may find that you're using fewer words. And you may find that your speed of movement slows down as you start identifying more with presence, because you are so intimately engaged with the sacred communion of feeling and sensing and knowing all that's around you, beholding the beauty and the grace in everyone who's presenting themselves to you, knowing that judgment and love cannot occupy the same space at the same time. And when you're in God consciousness, again, you're out of that compulsion, that addiction to label everything right and wrong, and then to take a stance that you need to defend about what you need to judge. You're just relaxing and surrendering into how good it is. So put your hands on your heart and take a few breaths and allow yourself to really generate this feeling of warmth and love and care and affection. Really feeling how good it is to just love. Because this is the highest, holiest, and most divine place we can live in and we can share with others. This doesn't mean you don't have boundaries. It doesn't mean you don't have discernment. It doesn't mean anything around spiritually bypassing. We are just talking about increasing your capacity to experience greater and greater levels of unconditional love on demand. But not really demanding, but on surrender, I guess I'll say. Like, you just have this ability to sort of flip the switch in any moment into that presence. And how do we do that? Always the breath is this way in the loop of awareness. So God consciousness is a place beyond solving any problems. There's no problems in the mind of source. You know that. This is about ascending in awareness to elevate the frequency, but descending back into humanity and actually bringing right action, right relationship, right speech into your life, so that any misperceptions are dissolving at the root cause, and you're able to actually live time as you navigate the initiations that present themselves to you on the daily. The relationship ruptures, right? You can create repairs so much faster because you can hold that perception of the truth of reality. Inner critics, self-doubts, procrastination, you're able to pivot more gracefully into aligned action, visibility, service, guiding bigger groups, because you're able to, again, flip the switch to the truth of who you are and why you were born and get out of your own way so much more elegantly. And so my hope for you is that you're going to start really bringing this level of reverence to your breath and really inviting yourself to ignite this way of seeing and feeling the truth of reality so that you can share it with other people. And, you can even pair on the daily certain breath meditations with this. Like, I'm inhaling all of the love of the universe on every inhale and exhaling all stories and illusions, inhaling the love, exhaling illusions, whatever you want to create as a breath mantra for yourself. And really pausing if you're hijacked by the stories of your own mind and remembering that nothing you think is necessarily true. That's kind of a life-changing realization. I'm sure you've had that before. Nothing you think about yourself or anyone is likely true. Chew on that one for a while. And really making it a daily practice to curate your consciousness as a high frequency channel to look for the divinity in everyone rather than looking for what's different that you can judge, which most of humanity and our primal reptilian brain have as a holdover from survival times. Reprogramming, building a new pattern to look for what you can appreciate, look for what you can give thanks to, look for the miracles that are unfolding around you, look for the synchronicities that are happening, and making that the context of your engagement and communication, and calling to yourself other people like those in this training who are devoted to repatterning their subconscious so they can actually experience more bliss. Because the more you repattern what you're looking for, you will find what you're looking for. No matter what you're looking for, you're going to find it. So if you're looking for things to be upset about and people to rally against and things to revolt against and people to be against, you're going to find all those things and you're going to drop down on the frequency scale. So you get to make this deliberate choice as a modern day mystic to elevate your frequency and to elevate how you're engaging with your perception of this in this ever changing world of appearances, right? And this also invites you as a practitioner to bring reverence into your speech, right speech. Right speech is so connected to right relationship because this means you're going to curate how you are speaking to reflect God consciousness. So you catch yourself when you're chronically complaining. You catch yourself when you're diminishing the value of something you just shared. I do this often. I still do. I catch myself. But someone will say how great something was. And then I say something about, well, wasn't that great because the music messed up or the connection broke or blah, blah, blah. Like, it's like my response sometimes is to diminish my capacity to receive goodness. So you're going to start catching these things and you're going to start using reverence in your speech because you realize your words are wands and that you're commanding reality into form as an extension of God consciousness. So you may as well be inviting in the highest possible outcome. So give yourself this contemplation, listen to this video, saturate yourself and allow your imagination to be excited. You could even listen to this right before a breath experience to see what is possible when you pre-pave your consciousness to elevate to this kind of contemplation. The more you choose deliberately what you spend your time thinking about during the day, the more you elevate your capacity and your ability to articulate to others as a facilitator expansive concepts. You have over 70,000 thoughts every single day, and you have the ability to deliberately choose what things you're just casually reflecting on. I always endeavor to redirect my attention from lower level rumination or self-sabotaging or negative storylines when I track that without judging it, right? I love it. Oh, there she is, the little human Christabel. And I redirect it to these bigger contemplations. And then miracles come in. So you are doing so well. I'm so I'm so honored to have you in this training. I'm so honored to have you elevating yourself as a practitioner and a representative of Breath of Bliss. And I invite you to enjoy time in the upper room. When I say upper room, I mean really coming up to the space of your higher self more and more during your day. And as you facilitate and as you curate what you're sharing in ceremonies, and just see what happens, just discover how radically unique Breath of Bliss is than any other modality that's being shared out there when you are coming from this place of elegance.